Hello! I am Ben Pick, and thank you for joining me in Running to Write, where I give questionable writing advice through running metaphors. Today I'm doing my third indie author showcase of 6 works by self-published authors who I've read recently. For more information on why I'm doing this, check out the first video in the series. It amounts to the negative stigma surrounding self-published books. Publishing a book is a monumental effort, and the last thing an indie author needs is prejudiced opinions about the quality of our work from someone who hasn't read our novels. Full disclosure for the books I'm about to describe, I know all the authors through the Authortube community, so there is some slight bias. That being said, I'm taking a critical look at their works and explaining what I enjoyed about reading each of them. Let's get started. What have I read? Number 1, Ivar, Blood and Steel by B.P. Baggett, and I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly because he is better known as Mr. Vlandis. This fantasy story is bloody as we follow an assassin on his trail of revenge for his fallen family. The action-focused writing kept me turning pages. Ivar must battle more than human foes, and the enemies unleashed to stop him are impressive. Ivar pursues those who destroyed his life over land and sea. His internal struggle is guided by a conflict between a voice only he can hear and what he believes is the right thing to do. Each choice, good or evil, leads him further down the path filled with clashing blades and blood. Mr. Vlandis gives Ivar a callous outlook, and the narration fits with the continual battles. Not only is Mr. Vlandis a talented author, but he is a remarkable crafter. He made the diorama behind me based on the fantasy settings of his world, and he also created a full costume for Ivar. This is Mr. Vlandis dressed up as Ivar, and I'm going to hang on this for a few seconds to admire the craftsmanship. He's created visual representations of libraries and castles from his stories. That passion comes through clearly in his writing, and it shows how he lives in his world. Ivar, Blood and Steel was my first adventure into the world of Eowyn, and I can't wait to return. Number 2, Displaced by Dan Hook. I have been burned out by post-apocalyptic dystopian stories. I devoted 2 whole episodes of Running to Write to show how and why the dystopian stories of the 2010s were meandering and depressing. Suffice to say that I was hesitant to pick up another dystopian novel. Displaced fought that uphill struggle to change my opinion. In it, we follow 3 distinct and engaging characters who are doing their best to survive after the fall of society. With roving gangs and rampant corruption, the characters are frequently confronted with moral dilemmas in order to see tomorrow. I felt the weight of each character's decisions as the tiny choices made meant the difference between life and death. For all the selfishness shown in the world of Displaced, I was impressed with the amount of compassion that was there too. Characters willingly put themselves at risk to save complete strangers. I would have liked to have known what caused the world to fall apart. Given the backstories of the characters, it makes sense that they wouldn't have the answers. This also gives room for these series to grow and these mysteries to be revealed. Number 3, Price War by Richard Holliday. What happens when, cough cough, clearly not Amazon, takes over a country? This book gives us a glimpse of a near future in which a corporation is so influential and provides enough essential services that they are the only option. Electricity, housing, food, all of our consumers' products come from the Amazon stand-in known as Yellowstone. This is a bleak societal outlook. Within it, we have Danny, who is recognizing the evils of such consolidated power and working against the services which control his entire life. The humor is cheeky and uniquely British. Even some of the characters' names or jokes are puns. All the while, there are severe consequences for the decisions the characters make. Richard Holliday crafts realistic characters who feel like they could be any mid-20-something adults living in the UK. Danny starts off unmotivated and lackadaisical, only to evolve as the story progresses when he has a reason to fight. Friendships are ripped apart and new ones form due to the root of all evil: money. In a lot of ways, this was a fun story. In other ways, it's a bleak outlook of what might happen if we aren't careful. All around, I was entertained. Number 4, The McMurdo Rift by Bradley Lejeune. The first in the series kicks off with an action-packed prologue where a war ends. Then we follow a relaxing cruise ship as it circles through an unoccupied area of space. The prologue gives us context for the interplanetary civil war between human factions and the aliens who support one of the sides. Now on that cruise ship, The hero of the war goes on to uncover truths about the aliens, and that all might not be as it seems. The prose was fast-paced and led to multiple nights where I kept telling myself I'd read just one more page, and then it would be after midnight and I'd be exhausted. The band of heroes thrown together feel like a family with all the drama that entails. The story truly kicks off when the main protagonist gets a mission from his ex-wife to find and rescue her new boyfriend. If that sounds spicy, that's because it is. The characters drive the plot and the mysteries they uncover. The sequel, The McMurdo Triangle, continues the well-crafted science fiction story. I could see the inspirations authors Bradley Martin and Martin Lejeune baked in the story, from Independence Day to Firefly. Number 5, Clash of the Goddesses by S.D. Huston. I held off on including this series in my first 2 videos because I wanted to get it out about the same time that S.D. Huston's next series will be published. At the time of recording this, it's out for beta readers, and I think by the time this video gets uploaded, they should align closely with when her series is available. Possibly. The Clash of the Goddesses is a trilogy recently rebundled as a complete series, so I'll be sharing my combined thoughts on Blood of the Lily, Soul of the Rose, and Tears of the Marigold. S.D. Huston sets the scenes of ancient Ireland so wonderfully that it felt like I was wandering through the lush forest along with these sister protagonists. The series meshes Irish and Greek mythology so well, it feels like they're one and the same. Except they're at each other's throats, so it's like they're any classic pantheon. These stories are also retellings of famous fables such as Snow White and Little Red Riding Hood, though the original versions, not the Disney-fied editions that we typically know. S.D. Huston made the teenage sisters feel like real sisters who are struggling to find out who they want to become while clinging to their sense of family. As they uncover more about themselves, they discover they have more ties to the warring gods than they ever imagined. The sisters' journey is painful, fantastic, and bittersweet. Shannon stuck the landing to give us a satisfying and emotional end as actual history blends with the unfolding magic. There are trigger warnings for abusive relationships, especially in the 3rd book, though they never delved into gratuitous or excessive. And lastly, number 6, Fabled Passages by Margaret Pinard. Fabled Passages is a stunning collection of fantasy short stories. Margaret Pinard uses the full space on each page to tell a complete and enjoyable tale while still leaving us wanting more. The worlds and characters explored could be expanded out into full novels because I want to know what happens next. That is the best compliment I can give to one short story, let alone the numerous ones which Margaret wrote for this collection. The settings were fully realized and carried an otherworldly feel. Some took place in the past, some took place in the present, and some intermingled the two. Speaking about intermingling, these stories show what happens when humanity and the unexplained, specifically the supernatural world, collide. Margaret flexes her skills and conveyed the UK in a way which made me feel like I was there with a few of her more disgruntled characters. In particular, I like Signs of a Trade where a witch had to make a difficult choice. On top of that, there was a story told from a dog's point of view. I approve. Side note, that dog was a lot more awake and energetic than my good boy Rufus, who is currently bundled up under a blanket and snoring. Those are 6 more indie books to consider reading. What will I include for the next batch of videos? Well, I may actually get around to reading the books I picked up last summer at Balticon, which have been sitting behind me this entire time. I am Ben Pick, and thank you for joining me in Running to Write. If you enjoyed these indie books I've shared, please review them and support the authors. If you haven't gotten a chance to check them out yet, do yourself a favor and read them. Also, please press those like and subscribe buttons. Let me know in the comments what indie books you're currently reading and what you thought about any of the books I mentioned today. I post my running and writing progress on Instagram and Twitter as Running to Write, so be sure to follow me and join in with your own thoughts. Don't forget to sign up for the Running to Write monthly newsletter for regular updates on my story musings, pitfalls, and lessons learned. The link is in the description below. You can check out my Ko-fi page to sponsor an episode or get video outtakes. See you next time. Until then, read a book by an indie author.